my scrappy friends. How are you guys doing this week? I am doing so well. Trying to get some stuff done around here. I thought I would share this layout with you. I actually did this like almost 2 weeks ago, maybe more than that. Around when Allie Edwards did the weekend or the week in the life. I wanted to say day in the life because I know she does that too. I had thought about if would want to do an album like that, and I decided that this year I wasn't interested in doing it because I didn't know how interesting our life, a whole week of our life would be. And as much as I think it'd be fun to see things that we're doing throughout the week that change from year to year, like I said, I didn't know if we were going to have enough in one album. And since I already do Project Life, I thought it might be a little bit redundant, but I wanted to try to find ways that I could document these stories in my regular scrapbook. I absolutely love the 12 by 12 platform as far as how I want to document. And so, that's just like my own personal preference. So I don't mind taking up that real estate for things like routines or things that we do, or just, stuff like that, our day-to-day stuff. I don't mind seeing that. And I actually really enjoy it. And I think that, one thing I was thinking about is that I could document some of the things that we're doing right now. And I plan to, as I start building more and more of an album stash, I should say, of doing more of a yearly album. It'll probably be more than one, but stuff that happens throughout the year, having it be in one album so that the layouts, you can see like what we did that year. So yeah, I am going to be using that sketch that I showed at the very beginning, and as you can tell, my thought process is really scattered today. So I'm just kind of using these 6x6 paper pad pieces to build a cluster. I kind of was trying to do something maybe a little bit different than what I normally do and layer them, but be a little bit bigger of a layer. So it's a little bit more Shimelle inspired maybe, though I didn't start off that way. And so I'm just kind of trying to figure out how close together I want those two squares, which paper I want underneath. Do I want them touching? Do I not want them touching? And I kind of had a hard time because I wasn't sure exactly how I felt about the open space. But sometimes once you start to add your photos, that open space really doesn't matter either. So I'm just kind of figuring out what I think is going to work once I start adding everything. But I did really want these, to be layered a little bit different, not so tight the way that I generally layer. And I like to do this just because it gets my brain thinking in a different way. I mean, it's nice to have the style that you do or the things that you do regularly when your brain's not thinking about it. It's nice to do that and to have that fall back on. But I think to really stretch your creativity, sometimes you just have to think outside of how you normally do things. And sometimes it's a little bit more challenging and difficult because you really do have to sit back and think about it. So it does take sometimes a little bit longer to do a layout. I mean, even though I'm using a sketch, and actually sometimes I find that even if I'm using a sketch, it still takes me just as long because I have to think about if I want to go with the sketch or if I don't want to go with the sketch. And there's that photo of my son, and it is in black and white. I really like the softness of what that is. And I actually have been printing off a lot of my photos in black and white lately. Just kind of gives a nice contrast to some of the colors that I do use. And when you're using a lot of patterns, it's kind of nice. And I'm using the Atlas collection, some of the Shimelle collection, and I think I have some of the So Fancy. I know the one blue on the bottom is from So Fancy. So I'm gonna add one more of these box layers, I think, in there. And I think that's what I decided to go with before I start adding some other stuff. Because on my sketch, which I drew that on my own, that's another thing that I've kind of been thinking about, is coming up with a little bit more of my own sketches beforehand. I mean, really, it's the same concept of, if you're just going to stick with a piece of paper that's plain and then you add everything, you just draw it out ahead of time. So I'm building a cluster there at the other side, and I wasn't sure which, that one little paper has a whole bunch of different words on it, and I wasn't sure if I wanted it, how much of it I wanted to show, if I wanted the words to go, and then it was just kind of big, so I had to cut it a little bit, and I wasn't sure I wanted to trust my trimmer. Sometimes if I stick smaller pieces in there, it'll like rip the paper, and that bugs me. Though I find that when I do that, that sometimes if I add like a little washi tape before, it won't rip as much. I'm not sure what I'm doing. I think I was watching something when I was doing this layout, because I had to edit a lot out of me just like not doing anything. And of course, because I did it a while ago, I'm not really sure. I try not to let my videos sit too long for you guys, because then I get confused about all the little details that were going on in my brain. And I know when I watch a process video, I really do like to hear about the thought process that goes behind it. So to keep it fresh and current for you guys, I like to keep, not have too many videos that I have to work on. And I wanted to use this piece because I really like the color, and I thought it would add with the Shimelle paper, but I didn't want to use that whole globe, and the globe doesn't really fit. I mean, it's a picture of my son sleeping, but the whole that whole layout is really just about our bedtime routine, and it's something that I haven't really scrapped about. And I know lately I've been thinking about some of the things that I want to make sure that I include and into my albums, or things that, and a project like A Week in the Life really does get you thinking about documenting differently. I mean, there's no problem with just taking photos that inspire you and putting them on a layout. And I do that a lot. I get inspired by my photos a lot. I get inspired by those little moments a lot. But sometimes I do think that there are things that I want to make sure that I include, and things like, just little things that we do in our routine. Like I did a layout that I didn't do a video for about our morning routine, and then to go along with that, I wanted to do something that had to do with bedtime, because bedtime, especially since my kids are so little, or mostly little, our bedtime routine is a really big deal right now. The kids really enjoy it because they get, a lot of times we read stories and we pray every night, and to them this is something that I want them to remember. But for them to be able to read about it later, then I think it'll spark those memories of things that they did. And I know I have tons of memories of stuff that I did when I was growing up, just because I guess I remember them. But it would have been nice for me to be able to have a photo or a story written down that goes along with that, because I think that that would even more so keep that memory ingrained in my mind, to remember that. So that's kind of why I wanted to do this kind of layout. And I mean, I don't generally just like sit down and write out all the different types of layouts that I want to produce for my family or for us. Like I said, a lot of times I am just inspired by my photo, but it was really, really nice to sit and kind of think a little bit differently, to have a layout that I actually said, okay, this is what I want to document, and having this photo of my son who fell asleep on the couch, we were watching a movie and I let them stay downstairs. And usually, like, the girls will do sleepovers for them, which is another thing that I do want to document and haven't really done too much of. But we'll let the girls sleep downstairs for like sleepovers for them. And they love it. But he's only 3, so of course we don't do it. But they were watching a movie and it was later and he fell asleep and he just looks so cute. I mean, he's still so little and I can't believe he's growing up. So it was really fun to have this photo. And then it's really nice to be able to take this really fun photo of him and cute photo of him and document something that we do every night, you know. So right now I am just kind of looking at some of things that I can use to embellish. I really wanted to keep it simple because I do have some of those layers, and that Atlas paper with the stripes is pretty busy, and with that I wanted, and this is a nighttime route, you know, layout, so that's why I chose the stars, because I thought that that kind of went along. And so I'm just going to take my punch, and I punched out a whole bunch. I didn't show all of the ones that I punched out because I punched for a while. I don't even remember punching out that many, but I really wanted all the papers that I use. And so I'm just gonna put them around and then I'll glue them. You won't see me glue them, I cut that out. I mean, that's another one of those boring things to watch, right? Someone gluing something down. But I really like the way that it turned out. And I will use my journaling. I'm not sure if I show this or not, but because sometimes I do the journaling off the camera just because it takes a while. But I do do my journaling with a white Signo pen. That's what I've been using, the Uniball pen. I really like the way that that white shows up. And then this stamp is from the Pink Fresh Studio, and this one is from J. Chris, right? Or Chris from, I know she's does a whole bunch of stuff, but she designed these, and I love this one that says remember. And I really like the way that it looks stamping down, so some of the ink from, you know, gets lighter and lighter with like that ombre. And then these are also from Pink Fresh Studio. They came in the embellishment kit as well, and they're really, really small and not very sticky, but they're really fun. I like the lowercase with the scripty font. And I just title it Sweet Dreams. And I will put the date in that blue box from that card too. I don't think I show you guys the journaling. I think this is the last of it. So that is it. And also I use a little bit of navy splatter at the very end. So you guys are going to see close-ups, and I hope you guys enjoy this. And you know, whether you guys are scrapping your, you know, your favorite photos that inspire you, or you're scrapping stories, you know, I think the point is to get these down so that you don't forget, so that your kids don't forget, and you can remember these moments forever. So I will see you guys later. Bye.